Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, let's do a little bit of role-playing. I, El Agustin, am going to be Captain Obvious. And as Captain Obvious, I'm going to talk about something I call common sense. Something that ain't too common nowadays. But I'm going to talk about common spending habits that are putting you in a bad financial spot. Spending habits that you need to stop right now. And you might be asking yourself, Captain Obvious, what's my role? Well, your role is very simple. You will be the Almighty Viewer. And all hail the Almighty Viewer. All hail the Almighty Viewer. But all you need to do is sit back, relax, and listen to Captain Obvious and his soothing voice tell you 10 spending habits that you need to stop right now. Like seriously, if you have any of these habits, you need to cut them out right now. And the first habit is waiting for banks to tell you when it's time to stop spending. Now, when it comes to money, many people choose not to be adults and wait for some higher authority to tell them that they have gone too far. They need some corporation or some bank to come step in and say, it's time to stop spending. So many people are in the habit of making bad decision after bad decision after bad decision and max out all their credit cards, and they don't stop until the bank steps in and says, you have reached your limit. And it's not until this higher authority steps in that they stop their spending, look at their financial situation, and try to take action. And these are grown adults that we're talking about. If you are in the habit of waiting until the banks tell you that you need to stop spending money to stop, you need to stop that habit right now, says Captain Obvious. You need to be an adult. Look at your own spending and financial situation, and before you are broke, stop spending and make better decisions. It's common sense that very few people follow. Now, the second habit is letting banks tell you how much you can spend. Another habit that grown adults commonly do is go to a bank and ask them, how much money can I spend? As if they're a 10-year-old asking their parents for an allowance. And we commonly see this when it comes to buying a house. People will go to a bank, and the bank says, you're approved for a $4,000 a month mortgage. And although the bank says they're approved for a loan that large, according to their finances, they can only afford a $3,000 a month mortgage because that's 30% of their income. However, because they listen to that higher authority, they take on a $4,000 a month mortgage and get behind on their bills. If you are in the habit of letting banks tell you how much money that you can spend, you need to stop that habit right now because believe it or not, banks aren't looking out for your best interest. Remember in 2008 when the banks gave out loans to people who couldn't afford them? Sure, it was the bank's fault for loaning out money to people that couldn't afford it, but it was also people's fault for not being grown adults and deciding for themselves what they can afford. Now, the third habit is spending more than you make. Now let me, Captain Obvious, tell you the theme of every personal finance video ever created. Now, if you want to get ahead in life, this is what you need to do. Whatever you make, say $4,000 a month, spend less. For example, $3,500 a month, and save or invest the difference. And that simple concept is how you get ahead financially. But despite it being so simple, that is actually a very tough concept for many people to understand because most people base their spending off their salary and are always living paycheck to paycheck. Or some people even spend more than they're making going into debt. If you are in the habit of spending more than you make, you need to stop it. You are never going to get ahead financially with that mindset. You need to spend less than you earn and save or invest the difference. Now, the fourth habit is taking on payments you can't afford. Now, I am saying extremely common sense stuff because, as I said, common sense ain't too common nowadays. And another habit that is common sense you shouldn't do and it is ruining your financial life is taking on payments you can't afford. So many people do this, and the best example is getting a new car payment. People are barely making it financially with no savings, but then decide to get some expensive car payments. And then they go from barely making it to always being behind and struggling. If you are in the habit of taking on payments that you can't afford, stop it. Seriously, so many people take on these payments they can't afford and go from a bad financial situation to a terrible financial situation. Now, the next habit is letting your life revolve around your stuff. Sometimes, and this doesn't happen often, but when I talk about spending less money, I will get a comment every now and then that says, "Life's short. I want to enjoy my money and get nice things." And I want to enjoy my life too, which is why I spend less money. Because when you end up spending all your money and getting all these nice things, your life ends up revolving around car loans, credit card debt, and other loans. Your stuff ends up owning you. And if you are in the habit of spending a bunch of money getting so many nice things that your life ends up revolving around all of your stuff, you need to stop it. You need to see that life is actually better when you spend less, because when you get rid of all these loans and have financial security in your life revolves more around what you want to do. It's so obvious, but spending all your money on stuff isn't worth it because your life ends up revolving around your stuff and your stuff ends up owning you. Now, the sixth habit is continuing to make bad decisions when you're in a bad situation. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. I see this one happen all the time, where people are in a terrible financial situation, living paycheck to paycheck, have a maxed out credit card, and are behind on their bills. And despite being in such a bad financial situation, they continue to make bad decision after bad decision, digging themselves in a deeper and deeper hole, seeking out convenience, eating out, and adding on new unnecessary expenses. If you are in a bad situation, but you're continuing to make bad financial decision after bad financial situation, you need to stop it. It's so obvious, but seriously, if you are in a bad situation, you should be prioritizing getting in a better situation instead of digging yourself in a deeper and deeper hole. Now, the seventh habit is buying once when you're struggling to pay for needs. Now, this next one is very similar, but I see it happen all the time. People are struggling in life and struggling to pay their bills, like their rent, their groceries, and their utilities. They're either barely making it or are behind. However, that doesn't stop them from going through the drive-thru and getting a quick meal for $15. There's nothing wrong with getting wants, but if you're struggling to pay for your needs, like food, water, and shelter, then you shouldn't be spending money on wants. And if you are in the habit of buying once when you're struggling to pay for your needs, you need to stop it, says Captain Obvious. You need to prioritize paying for your needs and getting ahead before you spend some money on wants. Now, the eighth habit is going in debt over a want. Now, I believe in avoiding debt at all costs. However, I can understand why somebody would choose to go in debt over a need. I can understand when faced with the choice of not buying groceries and going hungry, or using a credit card to buy groceries, why you choose to go in debt. Because you need food, and a credit card is sort of like a lifeline that allows you to purchase the food. However, something I don't understand, and something that is extremely common, is say that you want to buy a new pair of shoes, but you don't have the money. And so you can either, one, wait and save up to buy the shoes, or two, put it on your credit card and choose to go in debt over the shoes. Which is so crazy when you think about it, but it is so common for people to make that decision. People go in debt over the dumbest things, like a pair of shoes or some clothes. I mean, some people even go in debt over a sandwich. Which sounds like a joke, but it is many people's everyday reality. And if you are in the habit of going in debt over a want, you need to stop it. You need to grow up and make better decisions with your money. Now, the ninth habit is waiting until the last minute to take action. In life, there are many surprise expenses that we have no idea that they're going to happen, like a health expense or a car issue. And there is only so much you can do to prepare for those things. However, there are so many things in life that we know far ahead of time they are going to happen, like when a bill is due, when you have to pay taxes, or when a large expense comes up. And although we know they're going to happen, many people wait until the last minute to take action. For example, maybe in January they know they'll owe the IRS $1,000, but it's not until the final tax day that they decide to do something about it. And then they run into problems. And if you are in the habit of waiting until the last minute to take action, you need to stop it. You need to plan out things further in advance. It makes life a lot easier. Now, the final habit that you need to stop right now is making decisions that are ruining your life. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, in the beginning of this video, I promised to you that I would be Captain Obvious and tell you some common sense. Some common sense spending habits that are putting you in a bad financial spot that you need to stop right now. And I believe that I explained my point. However, it's important to understand that the reason you need to stop these habits right now is because the person that's being harmed from these habits is you. When you make decisions, like letting the bank tell you what you should do, spend more than you're making, and constantly make bad decisions, you are the one that is affected by it. You are the one that has to pay the price for your own actions, and it shouldn't take Captain Obvious coming down and telling you some common sense to see that these habits are harmful, and they're not just harmful, but they're harmful to you. And so you need to stop these habits right now and start focusing on making more positive decisions that put you in a better financial spot. And with that, muchas gracias, que tengan un buen día. Captain Obvious out.